Excellent. All right, everyone. I'm also going to turn off my camera if it distracts. No, I'll leave my camera on, sorry. All right, so yeah, welcome to the Competitive Application webinar. I think it should take about 45 minutes. It is mandatory, it is being recorded. I would like one person from each library to view. And here we go, here's our agenda. So first off is I want to talk about community grants. You've probably all seen it through your proposal. If you haven't, we'll just go over bits and pieces of it and I'll tell you a little bit of background about it. Then the application sections. The application is by nature of being online in community grants, slightly different than in previous years. It's mostly the same, but it's slightly different. And then we'll talk about how it's going to be reviewed and when, and then a little bit about LSTA, and then wrap up. And feel free to ask any questions as I go. Don't be shy, put up your hand or unmute yourself and just jump right in. Okay. Before I move on, does anyone want to say anything right now before we start? Okay. Okay, so first off, new for 2022 is community grants. Community grants is a semi-custom grants management system built on the Salesforce customer relationship management system. It was created by the state of Utah to manage all of their grant activities. It was custom built by the state of Utah, and they it's an app and they allow other government agencies to buy their app. So that is kind of the background. I spent a lot of time researching the different grant systems out there, and this one could do absolutely everything that I thought was necessary and needed. So I just got it in November, and I had to have it installed and sort of customized, and then I had to build the funding applications, the proposal and the application. So I'm releasing everything slowly as it gets finalized. You are the first people to use it. So anything that you see happening with it that you have questions about, just let me know and we'll figure it out. Okay. So since it's based on Salesforce, it identifies people as if you were customers, right? And so in this software, the libraries are my accounts, right? Your libraries are my accounts and they are the organizational accounts. I've allowed everyone to self-register and no one had anything in the system yet, so you had to enter your library. All applications, all funding opportunities are tied to the organization, right? So that's one part. The second part is the portal users and the accounts. And those are actually two separate things. Portal users are all accounts, but not all accounts are portal users. Every single portal user is attached to a library, but not every account is yet attached to a library. So I can enter someone in there as an account, as a contact, and those people are not necessarily portal users or attached to the library. And I say all of that because I see some people on here who don't have portal accounts. If you don't have a portal account, you're still a contact, but you don't have access to the applications unless you create an account for yourself in the portal. And you may not need that, right? It may not be something you need or want, but that's just how it's set up, right? So you will get emails with official account information, but you won't actually be able to see the application as it is in the portal unless you have a portal account. Okay, so I have no idea if that made sense. If it didn't, please let me know. But right now, self-registration is enabled, and I see some interesting names popping up. They're not really attached to libraries. If you want to know who is attached to your library, let me know. I keep an eye on it. I have a sense for who you all are, so I don't see anyone not part of your library attached to your account. Accounts cannot be deleted, and I think that is because they're attached to applications, but I can deactivate people. I can't delete them. All right, so that's just a little bit of background for how Salesforce works. Right. So ideally, this is what it's going to do. All of your LSTA applications, it does say 2021, are going to be listed in this portal, right? You'll open it up and you'll see all of your applications. That hasn't happened yet because I haven't gotten all of 2021s migrated in there. But once that happens, you know, you will at least see what you have going on with this Nevada State Library in terms of LSTA. It'll all be there. Through community grants, this is what you'll do. All of our official grant documents, the GIAs, risk assessments, all of that will go through the portal. Your reports will be submitted through the portal. You'll get reminders through the portal. And you'll submit reimbursements there. If you have questions, just casual questions, you can email me, right? Still email me, but if it's an official project related document, it should go through the portal. In the summer of 2022, so in a few months, for everyone who is funded, we'll have a post-award project management webinar to go over how this all works. Okay. Okay, next up is, and I'm going to actually share my screen and I can show you what it looks like live. This is the portal home. You have 3 options. Actually, unless you're a council member and a reviewer, you really only have 2 options, and that's apply or update. In the apply, if you go to apply, any available grant is going to be there, right? And so pretty soon mini grants are going to be posted there. But right now there's nothing. So if you're following along and you click on apply, there's not going to be anything in there available to you. The competitive application is not there because that's not open to everybody. That's only open to people who submitted a proposal, right? And that's why you'll find your competitive under update, right? The top menu items, those are exactly the same. Funding opportunities is apply, my applications is update, and panel review is review, right? It's not different, it's the same stuff. I'll show you what my little test screen looked like. So for the organization NSL APR test, right? I've actually got way more than this, but you'll see the competitive application, which is in draft mode. I'm asking for $50,000, and I can edit it, I can delete it, and I can print it. The proposal, can't do anything with it other than print it. Hold on a minute. I'm going to now share my screen, share my different screen. All right, this is what my test thing looks like. I click apply, no opportunities, but my application, right? You can see all the different test things that I have done over the past few days. I can't do anything with that. I can delete. I can still edit these guys, right? These numbers are system generated. Those, if you're funded, are not going to be your grant number, but this is how you're meant to track it, right? So if you've got a lot of different things out there, first identify it by the funding opportunity, competitive application, competitive proposal, mini grant, right? This, even though it's my account, it is the account for the organization named NSLAPR Test. So the other staff members here who also are associated with NSLAPR Test can also see everything on here, right? So that's how that works. So you can assign as many people on your team as you'd like to be portal users to have access to all this, or you can only limit it to one, right? That's up to you. But whoever is associated with your account will see all of this stuff. Okay. Did that make sense? All right, now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Oh, and that's it. That's it for the portal. Any comments, questions? Did all of that make sense? The users versus accounts versus libraries. Oh, the sun right in my eyes. Okay, we will move on. So next up is the application. Here are the deadlines. We're right in the middle between the first two dates. The first draft is completely optional this year. That deadline is coming up in a few weeks. I hope that's enough time, but it's a first draft. And then the final applications are due April 1st. Okay, council meets April 19th. And then we'll have funding decisions. I didn't want to commit to April. A lot's going on, but late April, early May, we'll have funding decisions. And then if you're successful, you can start July 1st. Project end dates are August 31st. I have a 1 month built-in cushion because things happen. If you need to apply, if you're funded and you need to apply for an extension, we'll talk about that later. But it's 14 months. Okay. This is an overview of the sections. If you've had a chance to look at the template or the application, right, it may look huge. Some of these are very, very short. Some of these are information only. If it's got a little star by it, that's a section that is scored. If it's got a little one next to it, that's a section that has uploads. Right, and we're doing uploads right now because I don't have a signature module installed in Salesforce, and I haven't, I just haven't gotten to that part yet. So things need signatures. We don't have a signature module, so we're still doing a little old school where you download, sign, you can sign digitally, and then upload, right? We'll get that straightened out soon. Other things that are uploads are the budget, because I could not figure out a way to do a budget online in a form like this in any way that made sense, right? So the budget at least is an Excel spreadsheet, and it will auto calculate for you, so you don't have to do that. So that is a plus. And then it's the same with the timeline. There was an easy way to get the timeline structure into the application, so that is still a downloadable form. You fill it out, you upload it. Okay. On the LibGuide, I've got these things for you. The application template. So what I did is I printed out the application. I gave you enough space to fill it out per the required character count. And it follows the online form exactly, right? All the instructions exactly. So you can fill that out if that's what you choose. We have instructions. And then any document that I'm requiring that you upload is also on the LibGuide, right? So it's all there. The rubric, right? These are the sections that are being evaluated. The rubric's a little bit different too to make it work with the software. So the copy of the rubric's there, and then all IMLS guidance, which includes allowable costs, ebook guidance, limited English proficiency, Anything that IMLS has published to help you run and manage a grant for federal requirements is there. Okay. Before we get into that, this is my advice to you. With few exceptions, it's a narrative heavy application, right? And narrative at the bottom, narrative is storytelling, right? It works better if you are able to tell your story like in a nice connected way that makes people truly understand what you need, right? You balance the facts with your stories, right? Avoid jargon, avoid one sentence answers. Avoid bullet points, right? If it asks you for a description, I highly recommend that you do not just put a bulleted list of things that you'll do, because that's good for things like PowerPoints, right? But since it's a narrative-based application, we want you to tell your story. Right? That's my advice before we move on. Okay, so sections 1 through 4, you can get through those really, really quickly. One of the questions I ask is, have you attended the webinar, right? And you'll check yes. And have you read the instructions? And I hope you will check yes. I did that based on 5 years of LSTA applications. So we want you to be prepared, right? I want you to be prepared and know like what's ahead of you. And I think this is it's a nice little way to kind of reinforce that, right? I hate to poke and prod you, but this is my gentle poking. The overview also serves to help evaluators, because the very, very, very first section that you're going to fill out is your title, the amount you're asking for, and a really, really brief description of your project. And that appears at the top of the evaluators page, right? So it helps frame the whole thing going forward for them. So that's what this section is about. Section 5 is the statement of need and is worth 20% of your score. Okay. I have quite a lot of written words in the application itself and in the instruction talking about statement of need, what makes a good one, what we advise you to do. So you can read that, but just these are, when I was writing this PowerPoint, this is what I was thinking. Like, these are just some recommendations, my recommendations to you when you're thinking about your statement of need. And this is also based on reading a lot of LSTA applications. I'll just, the bottom 2 ones, don't force backwards logic, right? Don't try and fit your need to match the thing you want to buy, right? They should flow. The thing you want to buy should be an obvious solution to the statement of need. Or the project you want to do should be an obvious solution, right? Don't force it. And the last one, right at last, that is something I learned a long time ago at school when it came to writing papers. Sometimes it's best to write your abstract, your summary, the first part, after you've written everything else. That's a style decision. That's up to you. If it helps you to write the rest of the application first, and then think about that, and then write your statement of need. It may help, it may not, but that's just something, just a thought. Okay. But this section, again, is worth 20% of your score. A little bit new, well, a lot new for this year is how we're doing target audience. So before, I just took IMLS's structure for their final report and I plopped it whole into the application. This is what IMLS wants you to report on. This is how we're going to start off. But I'm thinking maybe that's not the best way. So we're going to do that a little bit. We're going to tweak it this year. You're going to choose either library staff or library users. And then you're going to give a little descriptive paragraph about your intended target audience, right? That kind of opens it up. You're not limited to the check boxes, right? You have a bigger, broader way to describe your target audience. And then at the end, if you're funded and you're doing your final report a year and a half from now, then you figure out which check boxes those fit with your target audience. So that's a big difference, right? It's descriptive rather than check boxes. Oh, and that's section 5. Section 5 is your target audience and your statement of need. Section 6 is the results, right? It's the outcomes. You're going to do your project, and this is why this is what we hope will happen, right? This is how your target audience will benefit. So in this section, you're going to tell us how your project's going to improve your target audience's skills, knowledge, values, behavior, enjoyment. You're going to tell us how you're going to measure that, and then tell us how it advances the strategic goal. I like this visual. I use this visual all the time. Right, the goal up on top are Nevada LSTA goals, your strategic planning goals. That's what's driving this project. Your project is going to lead to outcomes. The outcomes are going to be measurable, and that's how we're going to know that we made steps towards advancing the goal, right? That's how it all fits together. So think about that, right? Here's your goal. If my goal is, if my project is, have you heard of Charlie carts? That's a new thing. I'm going to get a Charlie cart and we're going to do a project on food insecurity. And it's going to advance this goal, and the outcomes are like we're going to teach all of these people how to grow tomatoes. Right, and then they'll learn how to garden, and that will address this food insecurity, right? Anyway, I'm babbling now. Here's a look at our LSTA 5-year plan goals. There's no one right goal, but there are some goals that are better than others. And our evaluators look at the goals, they look at the projects that advance these goals. They look at how much money was dedicated to each of these goals and how effective that was. So when I say there's no one right one, but there are some that are better, if you're not sure which goal works for you, let me know and we can figure that out. And outcomes need to be measurable. Well, measurable, specific, attainable, realistic, and timely. I know it's very hard to measure outcomes. I do. The best way to measure them is through your output data and surveys, the quantifiable things. And that is section 6. Okay. Oh, here's our summary. IMLS has a few pages on outcome-based evaluation. Right? That's why LSTA is project-based. It's project-based, outcome-based evaluation. This is what they'd really like to see when they revamped the whole structure of LSTA reporting, maybe, God, almost 10 years ago now. It was focused on outcome-based evaluation. Right? Surveys that IMLS has that are required are all to advance outcome-based evaluation. Section 7 is what you're actually going to do in your project, and that's worth 20% of your score. Again, this is directly from IMLS. When they redid the LSTA program, I think in 2012, 2013. It took several years, consulted with a lot of state libraries, a lot of libraries, and determined that every LSTA project can be sorted out this way into either an instruction activity, content activities, planning activities, or procurement activities. Like everything that makes up your project can be sorted this way. Right? And so we ask you to do that in the application so you can just start to get a feel about how you need to report it. And I think it helps too, because if you have this big project, it helps to be constructed, right? This is the same exact graphic, but a little bit bigger with some words on top. So you're going to transform resources into services or collections. You're going to quantify the use of those services and collections. And then you're going to take those quantities and assess the effectiveness. And those activities are broken down into the 4 IMLS categories: instruction, which is teaching; content, which is information. Mostly you lend content, sometimes you create it. You can also describe it or preserve it. Planning is, it's not a reportable activity unless you are funding a plan. Otherwise, planning is something that you do throughout the process and you report on in your outcomes, right? It's just part of it, right? It's part of the whole thing. And procurement is for everything else that helps with your capacity. And it seems like a weird activity, but if you think about it, you want to buy laptops. So you want to revamp your space and turn it into a learning lab. And so you're going to procure, some whiteboards, some desks, some charging stations, right? And you'll write a narrative around the items that you're going to procure to help you create the space, which will help with your library services. Okay. So to be a reportable activity, it has to be greater than 10% of your time. The application has space for 6 activities because I've noticed over the years most people generally don't have more than 3 or 4 reportable activities. You have to have at least 1 though. If your project has more than 6 activities, just let me know and I will figure out a way to adjust for that. We recommend that if it's a reportable activity, you remember to put it on your timeline. Remember to clearly tie it to the target audience. It should be tied to your budget. And it should produce outputs. This is IMLS's official activities breakdown. This is for reporting. You don't really need to worry about that at this moment, but if you would like to understand what drives it, this is how it breaks down. Okay, moving on. Section 8 is, I don't have chat up, so if anyone is asking me any questions, no, okay. Resources and timeline are 5% of your score. The resources, I didn't know what to call it. We called it resources, but it's basically the staff. It's the staff and your partners, things that you are doing to make this project successful. Right, so we have the timeline, which is the visual overview. It's a grid. I think it's called a Gantt chart. You're going to tell us about your partners. If you don't have partners, absolutely fine. If you do have partners and they're informal partners, let us know. Provide letters of support. If they're formal partners, difference between formal and informal. Formal people are like absolutely essential to your project, and if they back out, your project has a big gaping hole in it. Right? If you have a formal partner, then we will absolutely need an agreement of some sort that outlines that this is what they're delivering, and we'll need to know what happens if the project partner backs out, right? If the project partner says, I'm going to allow you space to do this, and you have a piece of your project built on it, right? We have to have an agreement that says, yes, we're allowing them space to do this. And then we need to know what happens if that falls apart. Okay, that's the difference. Resumes are really, really well loved by many of the reviewers. So just don't skimp on them. Right? It allows us, if you're doing a like a STEM project and your staff have absolutely no STEM background, then that kind of is a red light. That's something that I, as a reviewer, would want to know more information about. Right? So with your staff resumes, just make sure that you're talking about them as the successful professionals that they are, right? They have the skills to do this. They have all the background, right? Don't skimp on that. I recommend that you don't. Okay. If you do not have staff assigned yet, which I imagine is probable, you can give that a job description, right? This to be determined. We have not identified the person doing this yet, but they will be responsible for this, and this is their job description, and right, do that. That's fine. Promotion is also part of this section. Promotion is really important for two reasons. It lets your public know what you're doing, right? And it also lets them know that this is an IMLS funded thing, right? And that's both are very essential, right? You want to get the word out. We really want people to know that if you're funded, this project is funded by a federal grant. So that means putting stickers on everything. If you're getting a vehicle, it means putting that IMLS logo on your vehicle. If you're getting tablets, put a little sticker on the tablet, right? That's part of it. That's part of your promotion. Right. So got two links there. Section 9, the budget is 20% of your score. It almost looks like sustainability is 20%, but it's not really. It's mostly the budget. The budget is why we're here. You're asking for funds to do this project, and it really needs to make sense, right? It needs to connect all the dots and make sense to your whole project. On the budget form, I hope it's easier this way because you can do a line item description and then you can put whether it's LSTA or match. It was a little bit confusing before. We want enough detail. Okay. If you have if a lot of your budget is going to a contractor, I advise you to attach the scope of work because I understand you probably don't have any bids done or awarded yet, but the scope of work will let us, the evaluators, understand what those funds are being used for. Okay. Sustainability is what happens next. Right. If this is not a successful project, you won't know that until the end, but if it is a successful project, it's good to know how you might sustain the momentum, right? Sustainability doesn't even have to be money dedicated towards it, but the momentum, right? If you've now established that you're going to do this program, right? You've got all the publicity built up, you've got the foundation, then sustainability is, you know, we will do these once a quarter, right? It's that sort of thing. LSTA always has not allowable costs, completely unallowable costs per the federal government. Gifts, advocacy, anything that looks like it's a giveaway, don't use those words. Rather than honorarium, use stipend because you're paying professionals for their professional services. Fundraising is not allowed. I had a project this current year. I had to get my IMLS program officer involved because they were using their program to go out and drum up more funds, right? You can't do that. Oh, that's it. That's it for budget. Section 10 is for innovation. This is a new section. LSTA projects have always meant to be for, LSTA is not meant to supplant local obligations, right? So we try and get you to do some sort of new thing. And so this section calls it out, right? How is this new? How is this new to my library? How is this new and innovative? What is it? What is different about it? Because what we don't want is funding more of the same, right? You've got this and we're just going to do more of the same. Not that more of the same isn't good, but when the program's intentions are to sort of be seed money for you to try out a new program, right? So that's what this is about. I didn't see that that's a problem with any of your projects. So section 11 is for any attachments. The software will take a lot of different types of attachments. It will allow you to upload almost anything. I don't recommend that you upload videos though. And that's only because our evaluators often sometimes like to print things, and you can't print a video and it may not be seen. This is a new section. It's 2%. It's not a lot, but it's meant to help you. It's meant to be a poke to make sure all of your check boxes are checked, your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed. If I was submitting an application, I probably would not get this 2% because I'm notorious for typos. Typos in everything all the time. I have 50 people proofreading my stuff. So typos, math errors may not be in the actual budget itself, but sometimes within the sections. If you say I have asked for 2 laptops at $300 each, but the end result is $700, right? Like, that's something the Excel spreadsheet's not going to capture. So that sort of math calculation error is something to check for. right? If you have data in one section, but you have different conflicting data in another section, right? That's something to check for. It's 2%. It's not going to break you. Okay. And it's for information only. You don't have to fill anything out. Overall, you also don't have to fill anything out in this section. It's for information only. But your project as a whole will be worth 10% of your score. These are some of the things that, overall merit per the official rubric is this, right? It's also overall value to the community. And then section 15 is certification. It's that official signature. If you're doing a first draft, you do not have to have all your signatures, but unfortunately you do have to upload something or else you won't be able to submit the first draft, right? That is not a glitch that I figured out. You can upload a dummy thing. Okay. This bottom bullet point, there's always, just remember that this form is built for all libraries in Nevada. So if you don't have a board of trustees, if that doesn't apply to you, that's absolutely fine. Let us know who the authorized person is and that'll work. Okay. Okay, that's it for that section. We'll quickly go on to review and ranking. Oh, any questions, any comments? Okay, this is a really quick section. Evaluators evaluate competitive applications. They have the authority per NRS. If you have not participated in this before, we in Nevada traditionally allow the panel to ask you questions, right? You have 15 minutes on the day of the council meeting to ask any questions. And right, I think it's a good exercise. They're not really sure what you meant. They can ask you and they can revise their ranking, right? We usually go in alphabetical order, and it's usually in the morning of the day of the council. So just pencil that in, block off the morning of April 19th to send at least one representative to answer some council questions. Right, and then council will do their final review and ranking, and then we will have scores and funding recommendations will be made to the administrator, Mike Strom, and then we'll sort through all of that, see the available funds that we have, and make funding, we'll make awards. Okay. This is the rubric summarized. Now that's up to 100. Okay, if you want to do an optional first draft, you're going to submit it through the portal. You're going to actually submit it. And then we internally, we can talk. I will make recommendations, and then I'll revert it back to draft, right? And then you don't have to start from scratch again. You can edit and change whatever you need to before submitting it. Once you submit it for the final time, you can't make any more changes, right? So when you hit submit for the final time, make sure you have all of your everything done, right? All your documents, all your letters, it's ready to go. Okay, that's it. That was 46 minutes. I didn't mean to rush through it. I didn't want to go over everything too much in depth because there are a lot of instructions. You can call me at any time whatsoever to go over anything, right? That's part of the job. Like, I'm a consultant, so we consult. Really quick about LSTA. LSTA is authorized by the federal government. It's authorized by Congress. Those are the parts of the code that authorize LSTA and authorize the grants to state subgrant program. All your projects help advance these LSTA federal goals, Nevada goals, your goals, right? And all of this paperwork and documentation that goes with it is so we can demonstrate the value of libraries and the value of library funding, right? Super important. LSTA is distributed to us based on our population. So the more people who move to Nevada, the higher our allocation goes. We got a waiver for last year, so our award for 2022 hasn't been finalized yet because Congress hasn't authorized it yet, but it won't go down. And we unofficially did meet maintenance of effort this year, so we shouldn't have an impact to our award next year. If our population goes down, our award goes down. And then wrap up. So have someone not in the library world print out your application and have them read it, right? That's the best suggestion I have. If you're gonna follow any of my suggestions, you should follow that one. Have a complete non-library person read it. Oh, and then, yeah, of course, call or email me. Don't forget your target audience. Here's the LibGuide. Sorry, forgot about the LibGuide. Bookmark the LibGuide. That is the wrong link for the LibGuide. It's supposed to be 22. So see, you can take 2% off my score for a typo. And that's my contact information. There's the correct link for the LibGuide, and there's the link to the community grants portal. And we are done. I'm going to stop recording.